right. Well, hey, first of all, my name is Drew DeFore, and I'd like to thank Josh for bringing me in. This is really awesome. I'm not anything spectacular. I'm very fortunate to have a career in music, and I have been a lot of places and met a lot of people and seen a lot of things and read a lot of books, and I'm just going to try to give you like everything I got here in this, this awesome meeting we have going on. So the first thing I want to do is kind of, maybe give you guys a sort of framework for where I'm coming from, and I'll tell you a little bit about my story. I'm just someone who's always loved music. I was born in a house that had a piano that was a decoration, and I just always played it. In high school, I was the kid that learned the Beatles and Queen songs by ear and went to the musical crowd and like played along and just had everybody sing along and have fun. Always loved popular music. I've dabbled in jazz and classical. What I want to say right now is it's really important to remove bias in any part of life. The best thing you can do in life, in relationships, and how you view politics and everything you do is try to remove bias. Because, that's someone who might want to be coming in. But to remove bias is kind of like the way that you can open yourself up to truth, which is how you can see things the best and get the best decision in every situation. So in the music industry in general, it's very important to know. You can't, if you're in the business of music, you don't want to look down upon things that are simpler or not, we're better than this, or like Radiohead's like so much better than like, the early Beatles or something like that. And you start to realize that there's so many similarities because it's just good art. It's out there to move people. Bob Dylan changed the world with only 2 or 3 chords in some of his songs, but his focus maybe wasn't the music, it was the lyrics. Some people the focus is in the music, it's the theater of it. Some people it's not the music, it's the politics. Some people it's just the music. And so in the music industry you find that you can't separate those things. I'm sure even you guys in the classical world or the jazz world, you look at music and you're thinking, oh, it's just the music, that's all that matters. But you're always influenced by what they're wearing and how they look and how they talk when they're coming on the stage. I mean, it's literally, the show starts when they walk into a theater. If there's a weird smell, it's going to affect how they view a performance. If you come on stage and you're stuttering or you walk on stage and you're like, "What did you say, John?" or something like that, and you're talking to your friend off stage, they're going to be like confused. And it's all about, you can't separate the senses and you can't separate what's happening. So what music is essentially, it's a very important trade. It's a very important thing that you have. And the people who say, oh, money is a terrible thing, blah, 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 it's not a terrible thing. Money is just totally a medium for all these exchanges to happen. And I'm sure we all mostly have come to that conclusion, but it's really confusing and confounding to me when musicians are like, I don't do it for the money. And it's like, well, no, of course not. But like, you do it for the exchange, of everything, of love, it's all an exchange. So you got to find your value. And so I can't talk about what that is for each of you because you have to figure that out. Are you a classical musician? Are you a songwriter? Are you a promoter? Are you a jazz bassoonist? That's up to you to figure out what you're going to have. And the only thing is, once you pick that, you're kind of like, you're not stuck, but you really have to realize what that means. Diversify is hugely important. But going back to booking, so it could be a cover band, dueling piano, string quartet, session musician, wedding band, orchestral performer, jazz musician, Irish music group, reggae band, jam band, circus performer. All those people, they could either just be booking themselves into events wherever they might find a need, or they could have someone that really spends all their time booking that particular person into like these avenues. A booking agent, it can be a really great thing. There's in my world, dueling pianos, there's all these dueling piano bars. So these bars don't really need a booking agent because there's always just a guy there who's like the head player. And he, and if you're lucky like me, I started 10 years ago and I've been networking. I know 60 clubs and 300 players. You call the club and say, hey, you got an opening for me? And he's like, oh yeah, John wants to take a week off. You come in and play here. Pick up a paycheck, maybe go see your relatives in LA. That's been really good for me. But you don't need a booking agent for that. One of the biggest things I can tell you is, are you going to work for yourself, or are you going to work for someone else? Starting your own label versus working for a music label. There's pros and cons to each. Ingrid Michaelson has her own label. She has a great manager. So the manager has placed her in movies and television shows and commercials. Yeah.
How difficult is that process? Because it's easier because of the internet, right? Because you can do like online.
Absolutely. But as far as placement, you mean?
Getting a booking agent.
Getting a booking agent.
No, I mean setting up a record label.
Setting up a record label. Okay, well that's a whole crazy discussion. I'll try to simplify it right now. Well, what would you need a record label for? There's so many ways you can collect money off of music. Littler and littler, smaller and smaller, the amount is coming from actual hard copy sales. That's actually becoming less and less what is like generating money. It's now about royalties, ticket sales, merchandise. You're kind of like putting the music out there and kind of monetizing what's around it. That's been a huge theme in the last 5 years. So for instance, your own label, what does that mean? So you have an album, it's got 10 songs, and you know, do I want to sign this to a label? What will the label do for you? They're the owner. They will say, well, we want 80% of your music for good reason, because we're going to spend every day and we're going to promote that and make it as much money as we can. So that means they're gonna hopefully if they're connected, they'll put your music on the radio, they'll put it in movies, television. Do you know? Does everyone kind of know how royalty? Anyways, the point is, labels can be awesome. Labels can be really, really awesome, and I think it would be really hard for most people to have like their own label in that sense, unless they just had a manager that was essentially like. I don't think as a musician you would want to be doing all that necessarily, unless you were just totally like, yeah, I can spend 10 hours a day, emailing people and trying to like get my stuff on radio, and then making sure I audit all these companies, because there's companies that literally audit radio stations and and they audit ASCAP to make sure the royalties are being paid out correctly. It's extremely hard and extremely beautiful doing it yourself, owning your own business. It's figuring out how to survive in the world in an uncharted territory. You are not going down someone else's path, you are creating your own. You're the engine and the freight cars. So here's some stories of like my DIY friends. So a couple who I didn't get a chance to speak to, they're really busy, but Joey Dosick, he was invited to just go. He's now performing with LP, who's a new singer-songwriter at LA. It's actually really funny because I knew he was working with her, and we were going to get our first TV to watch. We don't have cable, but we watch like a lot of movies. So we were going to go get TV at Best Buy, and we were looking at the TVs, and like, they have promotional like concert videos. We were looking around, and then like, there's Joey, like on Best Buy TV. Her promotional videos on TV at Best Buy. So he got that gig by moving to LA and just doing sessions and just being extremely connected in the LA scene. Matt Gerard's a friend of mine who does dueling pianos. He's from Kalamazoo. He was 5th place on American Idol, and like 3 or 4 years ago. This is a big deal to him. American Idol is a very interesting thing right now. A lot of people can criticize it, and there's a lot of validity to that, and he can verify that. But American Idol is like, it's Motown. It's a vetting process that's super smart, because they don't have the 50 people at Motown going, we like this or not. They have all of America vetting their artists and their songs for them. It's genius. It's super simple, and like, maybe you're not moved by anything on it. I'm not really. I haven't seen a lot of stuff on it that I've really thought was great. I actually like the new the Philip Phillips song. Yeah. It's kind of cool. It's a cool, beautiful song. But like, the point isn't whether you like it or not. It's just that it exists, and it's the roses are red, violets are blue thing. If you can come to terms with American Idol, which is something that was hard for me, all of us are like, fuck that. It's like, this is just for like the masses. It's consumable, blah blah blah. But that's how everyone is, because they want something more, which is fine. But also like, be cool with it. It's like, it is what it is. Like, it's a vetting process for most people who aren't educated in music. So they might not like have ever even studied. I lived in Grosse Pointe. I went to school in Detroit. I've been in Michigan for so long that I know, Michigan people. So I've got some reach, but I've always felt weird, when I'm talking about pulling your friends and family out to gigs. You just always. Can I actually
dovetail off this question? Because this is questions only not other than to see you and hear you talk. Yeah. I've met Drew once or twice. Is to ask this one question. Because I've been doing the singer-songwriter thing now for a little bit. I actually just quit my day job in when did I quit my job? January. Wow. So I've quit my job. So I've been doing like nothing but music for income, and that's not as glamorous as it seems. There's some there's some really hard stuff, and like, if my wife didn't have a good job and she wasn't on board, it'd be really, really tough. But what I've noticed that now, I've played the Arc twice, played the Blind Pig a handful of times. I'm playing Top of the Park for the first time.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
I think this year.
Great gig.
But I can only get like all of my friends and family, no matter how many friends and family I can get in Ann Arbor, Washington County, whatever. How many times can I get them to come out and pay $5, $10, $15 to see me hear songs that they already know I'm going to do? So my question is unless you do something like doing with pianos or like Laith Al-Sai does, where you go play 4 or 5 different bars every week and play 95% covers every time, and it's going to keep people drinking and keep the club happy and whatever. But how do you go places where you don't already have a following?
Great question. So what I've been doing, and I only have one place. I have 2 places in the world where I've been successful and unfortunately they're out of the country. And I say unfortunately, 'cause it's not. Oh, excuse me, 3. Upstate New York, I've done pretty well up there. I have a booking agent that puts me in the places where people are already going to hear original music, and there's very few scenes in the world. There's just not that many scenes. A scene is where like there's a club, and a bunch of people are like, we want to see good new music. We're gonna go here, and a lot of people do either every night or every weekend, like Hotel Cafe in LA or the Rockwood in New York. These are smaller venues that you could play, but I mean, you go there and there may not be a ton of people, but yeah, you might not gain money, but you start playing those places, and if you make a good impression on 10 people, maybe there'll be 20 next time. It's so intense. It's literally like the music industry asks the same question. It's literally just like anything you can do. Used to be flyering was enough. You can't just flyer now. And then for a while, you thought Facebook invites would be enough. It's not enough. It's got to be like everything. But at the end of the day, it's like my friend Matt Gerard. Like he did everything he could, and it was 5 to 10 people. Then he got on American Idol. He was just in like the round of 100. He wasn't, or like 30, and that was enough that he had to quit playing the place because it was too big for it. And it's so crazy because it's like there's a difference between best-selling author and best writing author. This is where you have to get real creative, and like that's what I'm saying. Like I don't have the answers either.
Also, if anyone needs to go, they can. But
And if anything,
we're down to answer questions for.
Yeah, I'll go around the 15 minutes easily.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Sweet. Also, if you guys don't know me, I'm the president of Arts Enterprise, and Josh collaborated with me to have Drew come speak. So if you guys are interested in being on the email list, we're mostly a group of like music students and business school students, and we focus on like just any idea we have. We're really thinking of trying to put on like you guys. I would use your input on this, but put on like a show with student composers and student artists, and kind of like a talent, like just mix of students, different types of different types of music, like sometime in the future. Okay. I knew I did.
How far into you were in school?
Oh, thank you so much. I had a lot of fun. I hope I have good stuff that everyone can use, and thank you for shooting.
Oh gosh. Are you heading out?
I'm heading out.
Okay, that's good.
Part of my business was,